Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Delighted to sit with Lauren Scott, who's the owner of Trading Places Estate Agents in Whitley Bay. This is our part 2 interview. We've done another one a few weeks back where Lauren was asking me the questions about the industry and what's going on. And now we're in a position where we want to turn the tables, and I'm now doing the questioning. So I'm happy with that. So really just today is about just getting a bit of background on Lauren and her business and how she's coped with the situation that everybody's finding themselves in. So Lauren, over to you then. Just really a little bit of intro from you would be great, and your background.
Thanks, Gary. So yes, my name is Lauren Scott Simpson, and I am the Managing Director of Trading Places. We started in 2007 in Ponteland, being a sales-only business, and November 2007 was the year that I bought the business, and shortly after was the huge crash in the marketplace. So we went very quickly from doing a huge amount of high-level sales in Ponteland, high-level properties, to doing pretty much zero overnight. So I studied and took examinations to open up a lettings portfolio and became one of the biggest property managers in the Ponteland and surrounding areas. And that really did help our business survive at that stage and help us go from strength to strength. In 2014, we opened a second branch in Whitley Bay, where I am originally from, and the levels of business that we were doing in Whitley Bay completely took over head and shoulders of the business levels we were doing in Ponteland. And I made the business decision then to sell that branch and concentrate on one hub in the Whitley Bay and coastal areas. I could still service the clients that I had in Ponteland, but from the Whitley Bay branch postcode. So we're now a multidisciplined, very successful sales and lettings agency in Whitley Bay. On a personal level, I was the regional representative for the National Association of Estate Agents Property Mark for a number of years, and I worked my way up the ranks, and this year I was lucky enough to be appointed president of the National Association of Estate Agents. So I basically represent the United Kingdom, represent our members. I've travelled to America, deal with government, and I've got a great insight because we have weekly meetings with my representatives all over the country on what's happening in those micro markets all over the UK. So you've got people in Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales who are still locked down currently, and then people, you know, in the north where I am, and then down in Devon. So it's really interesting to see what the market's doing at the breadth of the country.
That's fantastic. So, I mean, to be given the presidency, I bet you were dead chuffed with that one.
Yes, well, I'm the youngest ever female president that they've had. Brilliant. So it's been a challenge because we've had, you know, Brexit, new Prime Minister, COVID-19. So there's been quite a lot in my year. So you're president for a year. So my term has been rather busy. But I've enjoyed it massive amounts. So and that's been alongside obviously running the business and looking after my family as well. So I do have 2 small children. So yes, it's been a rather busy year, but just how I like it.
So that leads onto the business. You mentioned running the business as well, and just how's Trading Places cope during this, you know, this mad world that we're in at the minute?
Well, it's been scary, Gary, because we've never ever had to face anything like this before. So there was no book to tell you what was right and what was wrong, and how to do it. But thankfully, we've had lots of guidance from Property Mark, who were dealing directly with government. So it was frightening. However, it wasn't as frightening, I must say, as the recession, because there was light at the end of the tunnel. If people still wanted to transact, we were just on pause. But with regards to income coming in, it was frightening because no transactions could complete, no rental move-ins could happen other than emergency move-ins for key workers, etc. therefore the tap for the income coming in was pretty much turned off. So I did have to furlough the majority of my team. And whilst other people were enjoying this time with their family, spending time in the garden in the lovely weather, I was pretty much working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, to ensure that my clients were kept up to date. I was doing the property management on my own, because that work still had to be carried out. You couldn't just say,
no,
oh, just send me an email. Those issues had to be looked after. Obviously, the levels of inquiries from our existing clients absolutely quadrupled overnight, because everybody was worried. Tenants were worried. Does this mean I don't have to pay my rent? I'm furloughed. Yes, you do. Where do I go for help? I've been made redundant. I'm self-employed. So each individual situation was different. So we've had, sadly, people who passed away with COVID-19. We've had people who are on the sick. We've had people who are furloughed, people who are self-employed but couldn't claim. So we've had all sorts of situations we've had to help overcome. And I must say, I'm delighted to say that we're now 100% of our rents have been paid. We haven't got anyone who hasn't been able. Some were slightly delayed because we had to look at the government funding, but everybody is up to date, which is great.
Brilliant.
But you've also got landlords who were concerned, so we had to advise them on taking, if necessary, their payment holidays and looking at their personal finances. So it was tough. And again, people who were selling properties, where did it leave them? Could they buy on? And everything was just completely paused. So yeah, it was a real challenge. It was a real challenge, but thankfully we're coming through the other side of that now.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've heard that this lockdown is getting easier, and there's relaxing of the rules and things, which a lot of businesses like of ourselves and yours need to adapt to get your offices all up and running and your businesses running again. So as a business like yours, Lauren, how are you adapting? How are you coping with this, with the new rules that is going to come out and the easing of lockdown? How's that going to affect what you're going to do?
Yeah, I mean, we got less than 24 hours notice, Gary, that our industry could reopen and start practicing again. So it was sleepless nights of looking at a staffing plan, looking at the income that was going to be coming in to pay those staff, and also look at risk assessments, because I have a duty of care not just to my clients but also to my staff and my family. So we had to look at what was right for everyone and who felt safe. Just looking at the staff, we have staff members, excellent staff members who have children who aren't back at school yet. So they have childcare issues because you can't rely on grandparents or family members to look after the children. We have people with health issues who feel nervous about coming back to work in the office place, and we have to respect that. So it wasn't just as simple as saying, this is what we're doing and going for it. Everything had to be spoken about and really well thought of, as well as all the risk assessments. So with regards to getting the business ready, we are still a locked office, locked door, so I don't have the public coming in, so we have that level of control. I did order PPE in advance because I knew that we were going to come out of this and need to be protected, so thankfully I did have that. One thing that we do have to look at is viewings for the clients and valuations. So the guidance is on the government website, but our adaptation is, and I wrote to all of our clients to say these are our processes. So basically we have organised, and I've trained myself to do it, virtual viewings, so really high quality virtual viewings, which give the client a good view of exactly what the property's like before they view. So if it's not right for them, that minimises the risk of any virus passing on unnecessarily. So that's the first thing. If they then would like to proceed with the viewing, it's under strict guidance. So they have to use hand sanitizer and gloves before they come in, all of which is provided by Trading Places.
So you provide that if you go along to that property and the potential purchaser wants to view, you're there and to say, look, how is that given across? Do you put that on the floor and just stand back 2 meters, or how is that administered?
Yeah, so I've basically got locked boxes that I put down and then let them get it out of the boxes themselves, and there's enough for just that client.
Got you.
And they would take, so it's a maximum of 2 people, Gary, that can view a property, and strictly no children.
Yeah.
And I have the Dettol aerosol spray to spray around before and after as well of the box. So they would then need to put those on, disposable gloves and a mask, and I would dispose of those afterwards.
Yeah.
So the vendor, if the vendor lives there, would need to prepare the property for me by.
How does that work? Do you give them like a list of what they, like an itinerary, what they have to do?
Yeah, so I've given them basically their risk assessments and their guidance from what they need to do. So they would need to just antibacterial wipe down the surfaces before and after the viewing, and leave all doors open and put all lights on, because what we don't want to do is risk any touching of the property while they're there. And then we ask the vendor to stand outside of the property, and obviously observing 2-meter distance at all times. And we're trying to keep it to a maximum of 10 minutes for that viewing. Any questions can be done virtually, even if it's in the car afterwards, or via the office.
So are masks mandatory then, or not? Or, you know, do you have to wear a mask and stuff, and gloves, or is it just sanitizing the hands?
For us, masks, yes. So I had a client yesterday who I turned up to do a video tour with my mask and gloves and everything. And he came out without the mask on and said, "Oh, don't worry, I don't mind." And I said, "Well, I do." So unfortunately, you need to wear a mask.
It's a two-way thing, isn't it? It's not just a one-way thing, it's a two-way.
And, you know, I think people respect that we're trying to keep them safe, because as an industry we've been given this opportunity to practice, and we need to do our best as an industry to show the government that we are safe to do so, and have our clients' best interest in mind, as well as our staff. However, I must say that I think the level of understanding of the guidance varies massively across the industry, because some viewers will say, "Oh, well, I've viewed 3 properties today and I haven't been asked to do this." So it's a little bit of a block that I've got to overcome to say, "I'm doing this for your safety and my client's safety. Please respect that."
Is that down to the interpretation of the rules, or is it, or the rules come out where you have to do this and just people aren't adhering to it, or is it just the interpretation of the rules?
Correct. And I think, you know, it is difficult, Gary. So historically, I would turn up to a viewing, you know, you'd shake hands, you'd build that rapport with your client, you'd welcome them in, you'd hold the door open for them, you'd turn the lights on, and you would really be with them on that viewing. This is completely different. As an estate agent, it's alien to us, because you can't see them smile. You know, you can see it in the eyes, but you can't see them smile. It's difficult to talk if you've got your glasses on, they're steaming up, and you know, it's just completely alien. So I think for some people it's going to just be getting in the practice of it, and they might just forget. But I think there's possibly some agents, I don't know any names, this is just off what my clients have said, who are just kind of opening the door and let them walk in with no PPE. But for me, that's just too much of a risk.
Well, I think for us, I think just listening to what you're saying now, I think it's really reassuring that you've really embraced it, and you're given as much safety advice and practicing the safety advice that the government have set out for potential purchasers and vendors, and I assume renters as well, and also your staff. So it's down to the individual firm to make sure that they're following through, and just listen to what you're saying now. I think it's absolutely great that, and people should have the confidence and the comfort to know that if they come through to TP Trading Places to get a property, to view a property, to list a property, that it's going to be done 100% safely. So with that in mind then, with everything that's going on, where do you see now, are you getting a feel that the market is starting to change, and for both buyers and renters? What's your view on that at the minute?
Yeah, so if I give you an overview of kind of what's happened since we've opened up. So we had this absolute, all I can describe it as a surge of pent-up energy of people wanting to transact. Some people who couldn't understand during lockdown, frustrated why they couldn't view properties and why they couldn't have a valuation in person and get their property on the market. So all of that pent-up energy was, it was just so busy, so busy. The other thing that happened quite quickly was a significant fall through in the pipeline, probably about 10%, which was a shame, and it was all coronavirus led.
Related,
and it was such a shame because it wasn't anything to do with confidence in the marketplace. It was to do with their situation, and maybe somebody may have died in the chain, which is then the chains fell away. Somebody may have became redundant. Some people, you know, all sorts of different reasons, but it was all relating to the coronavirus. However, there has been a massive amount in this last week of new applicants who have came to the marketplace who are now looking to move. So during lockdown, they've made that decision. Either their house is too small, you know, they want something bigger, or the house is too big, they want it smaller, they don't want to live in an apartment, and they really realised what is important to them, where they want to be and where they don't want to be. So there's been a lot of pent-up energy, and I must say we've had one of the best weeks in instructions and sale agreements.
Fantastic.
So, you know,
is
in
that
a
the
long
rental
time.
market, Lauren? Are you still seeing the activity in the rental market?
The rentals, I can't get enough rentals. Literally, I've got rid of nearly everything that we have, things that have sat on the market for a little while. There's probably 20 viewings for every property, or 20 people who would like to view. So the majority of them, we're doing the lettings on virtual tours, so the virtual viewings, because people are more likely to transact on a rental property with a very good quality virtual tour. With regards to the sales, somebody might not want to spend $250,000 on a house with just based on a virtual tour. So we're using that as the first step in the door. Do you like it? Does it interest you? And then if that's positive, then on to the viewing after that. So the rental market is absolutely brilliant. And like I said, we've been really successful. I think the government have done really well with the furlough scheme, because what it's allowed is the rents to keep on flowing and people to be able to pay their rent. Should that scheme have not been in place and people have not been able to pay their rent, I think would be in a very different situation. I do feel that.
Sorry, you said you've got rid of most of all your properties. Is your geography most of North Tyneside, Newcastle, sort of fringing out that way, or is there no boundaries to really where you can go? Or?
There is a slight boundary.
We obviously, any of our clients looking at this or who've got properties and they want to, you know, list their properties and things, and you know, maybe.
It depends the type. Depends on the type of service, because if it was a fully managed service, Gary, I would need to be within an hour's drive to effectively manage that property. However, I've got stuff Northumberland, I've got stuff that I manage in Durham, so we've got a bit, you know, so we're very much like yourself, Gary. We're based on referral for customer service. So if a client says, I've got a property in Durham, can you manage it? Yes, I can. If somebody said to me, I've got something in Leeds, it wouldn't quite be right for me. But what I could do is put them in touch with a Leeds agent who's on my board, who would be able to offer the same sort of level of service.
That's good to know. It's good to know.
But yeah.
So that's great. I mean, we know that the market's starting to come out of this this lockdown slowly. From a lender's point of view, with those that are looking for mortgages and things, we're still a little bit challenged on mortgage products. They still haven't getting back to the 90 to 95%. There are a couple of lenders doing 90%, and you know, but it's very difficult to get funds. Funds are just disappearing within a matter of hours in the morning because it's in such demand. So that goes along with what you're saying about how the market is picking up again. In the property market itself, and what you're getting to hear from your members of the association, what's your views on what's ahead and in the short and sort of medium term on the market, and any advice that you've got for any of our clients, potential purchasers, potential landlords, renters, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, the key for this is, at the moment, the market is strong. So if you're thinking about transacting, do it now, because we do not know what's in the future. We don't know whether we're going to have another peak. When I've been speaking to Katie, one of my colleagues down in Devon, she's a huge seaside community, and there's little or no social distancing going on. in her beautiful part of the country, and she is terrified that that is going to lead to another peak because of what she is witnessing, packed beaches.
Well, you saw that at the weekend. You saw that the pictures of beaches in Brighton. I mean, it put Benidorm Beach to shame when it was in its peak. You know, there was more people down on the Brighton beach than on them. And it just, I don't know where people's heads are with that, you know, but.
Yeah, I mean, the new world is going to look very interesting, isn't it? Because I think now I'm kind of on the front line, so to speak, because I haven't allowed any of the staff to do the appointments because I took the stance that I should be, as the business owner, taking the risk to do the viewing. So I'm kind of out there seeing people, and more than some people who are still locked in, so to speak.
Oh, wow.
And I must say the mood of everyone has totally changed. If you're walking down a street, you'll smile, but you'll take your distance away, and without it looking rude, it's just becoming acceptable in the norm. So I think if everyone can just adapt common sense, we're going to be all right. But I think for the market, let's hope that it stays strong. I think the government are doing everything they can to try and help the market survive. I mean, at the end of the day, they need the stamp duty fees to probably pay back a lot of this furlough debt. So they're going to do everything they can to keep the market going. But yeah, I mean, for the landlords, you need to have a professional agent on side, whether it just be somebody for an ear to get advice, or whether it be someone managing it, because with the Coronavirus Act, so many things have changed. The time that you can serve a Section 21 is now 3 months at the moment, you know, so no evictions can take place for whatever reason, doesn't matter. So there's all sorts going on at the moment, and government haven't let up either on the new legislation that they're passing. So from the 1st of July, you can't let a property without an EICR electrical certificate. So people need to be thinking about that. So there's all sorts going on aside to coronavirus that you need to be worried about.
Great stuff. Well, look, that's as many questions as I've got. I'll just say, if anybody watching and any of our clients who are thinking about listing or thinking about renting or moving on, then, you know, Lauren is available for any advice and help that she can give. And I'm sure you know, everybody would be very impressed with the level of service that Trading Places and Lauren provide.
Thanks, Gary.
So I just want to thank you for your time. That's been fantastic, and getting a really better insight and a view on what's happening and what the future holds from an estate agency point of view. We'll continue to support clients and everybody with their financing of them properties and things. And you know, let's hope we'll get into the new norm fairly quickly, and things return back to a degree how they were. Not that it will be how it was, but you know, if we just get back into some form of the new norm becomes the norm, then we'll be all right. We'll come out of it and everything will be good. So thanks for your time. You stay safe, and we'll look forward to catching up with you very soon.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
Bye-bye.